All right, kids, we are here to talk about the Medici Part II. I left you with a little bit of a cliffhanger about this problem that we have in Florence. And I see the way that some of you are looking at me. You're saying, oh, you wore that shirt yesterday. Guys, it is yesterday. I'm recording this video the same day, so stop judging me. All right, now here we go. We're going to the Medici, and before we go any further on the Medici, let's talk about Florence just a little bit. Florence is a city-state. Now, if we could build a time machine and go back in time, that's the sound of going back in time in a time machine. There's no country of Italy back then. There are a whole lot of little tiny countries that we call city-states. This kind of looks like a big city and the area around it. Now, I'm giving you the example of if this city-state existed today and Raleigh was a city-state, we would kind of be part of Raleigh. We would be part of that city-state. So they get the main city and probably 30 or 40 miles outside of the city, and this area works like a country. Works like a country? What do you mean, Mr. Moorhead? Here's what I mean. Like they have their own government, their own military, their own money. Sometimes they have their own like weights and measurements. So it's like a little tiny country. And Italy has a bunch of these. They have Venice and Florence. Rome, even in this period of time, is its own city-state. Again, there is no country of Italy at this period in history. Now, the city-state of Florence is a prestigious state. It is a beautiful state. It is a very wealthy state, but they've got one problem. I mentioned it to you yesterday, but I didn't tell you exactly what it was. It's an embarrassment to them. Here's what it is, guys. Now, you can see that this is a cathedral. See this picture? This is a beautiful building, and this picture gives this building no scale. We talked about scale with parts of a map. This is a massive, massive building. I think downtown Raleigh, maybe. This is a massive church. Now, a cathedral at this period in history would generally be located in the center of the city. It's the main church. Now, toward the outside or other parts of the city-state, they would have smaller churches. But this is the granddaddy of all churches, and here is the embarrassment. If you go to this city, you gotta think, we have houses here in Johnson County that are like 2 or 3 years old. Some of these houses and buildings here are 1,000 years old around this church. You would see this beautiful red roofs on everything, brown, white, grayish buildings, very small streets, and then you get to the middle of the city and you have this massive church. But the problem back then, you see this part right here, this is all the cathedral, this round part. There was no roof on this building back then. There wasn't a roof at all. So people would visit this city and they're like, oh my gosh, look at that massive building. This had to be one of the larger buildings outside of the pyramids in the world back then. They go to this building, they walk in, beautiful sculptures and designs all over it, but they see a light at the end of the building, and that's the sun. And the sun is shining down in the building, and when it rains, this building fills with water because they don't know how to build a circular roof. And that's interesting. I'll tell you why that's interesting. Because they had forgotten how to do it. Ancient people could build a circular roof. This is built, I don't know, 600 years, 700 years before the building I just showed you. This is Hagia Sophia. If you notice, it's a circular roof. The Greeks and the Romans had circular roofs everywhere. Those are called domes. But people have forgotten how to build them. There's been a long period of time without this being built. And I will add, in defense of the people of Florence, there's a few more complications on that particular building, the way that it was built, but nobody could put a roof on it. Enter the Medici. The Medici have an idea. They've got a guy that they want to sponsor. His name is Filippo Brunelleschi. I have a lot of people mess up and say Brunelleschi or something like that. That's pasta sauce. Brunelleschi is their version of Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. Brunelleschi is super intelligent, like mad scientist intelligent. He is also very awkward. He is strange to talk to. He doesn't keep a lot of company. He stands and stares at stuff a bunch. He enjoys drawing stuff and making sure of the perspective. He wants it to look exactly on paper, all the way to scale as it does in real life. So he designs a lot of things. He's won a lot of contests, but he hasn't done anything quite as big as this massive, massive dome. Here's the idea the Medici have. They're going to sponsor him. They're going to tell him, hey, Brunelleschi, if you can build this dome, we will pay you to research it, do all the work. You don't have to worry about having a job. We will pay you. But there is a condition to this. You have to share the money with us. That's what we want to do. So they're going to pay you for building that dome. The city will pay you. You've got to share that with us because we're spending a bunch of money too to help you out. And this is the proposition to Brunelleschi. Brunelleschi thinks about it and he says, I want to give it a try. Absolutely. So Brunelleschi is going to want to do something in particular. If the ancient people could build this, he wants to study the ancient people. So in some cases, he requests ancient manuscripts. You got to remember, 700 years ago, this stuff was considered ancient to them. So there were people going back and forth to Rome and Greece, carrying these very, very important manuscripts back to Italy, back to Florence, for Brunelleschi to study. Now, we have some evidence that Brunelleschi may have traveled to study these places directly, like inside. Now, Brunelleschi does take quite a bit of time, but he tells the Medici, hey, I think I figured out how to build that dome. And the Medici are excited. They will have finally solved this massive problem. I think it was going on almost 100 years of this building not having a roof on it. And they will make some money off of it too. Now, they're not going to make the full share. They've got to share it with Brunelleschi, but they're going to make quite a bit of money. So, nonetheless, we are looking at now a meeting with the town council. The town council, oh, that's my timer, sorry. Oh, here we go. The town council is going to meet with Brunelleschi, and they're going to want to see how he is going to build this. Because after all, they are going to pay him the equivalent of probably millions of dollars to build this thing. They want to know, how are you going to build it? Now we have the problem. Brunelleschi doesn't want to tell them. At this meeting between Brunelleschi, and we have the Medici there, and the town council has all of their engineers and architects, because the town council doesn't build anything. They don't understand the language of building. So nonetheless, they brought these guys in to listen. Brunelleschi is not dumb. Again, he is brilliant. They say, Brunelleschi, you said you could build the dome. Tell us how you're going to build it, and these guys will see if that is possible. And if it's possible, we will pay you the money. Brunelleschi says, no. If I tell you, what's to stop these guys from copying my idea and just building it yourself? So it's kind of mentioned that, hey, well, what if somebody stole your plans? The same thing would happen then. Brunelleschi was so smart when he drew out the dome and drew out the plans, he invented his own language. Like, it's written in his own language, a code. So if we have the plans right in front of us, we can't read them anyway. He's got the math, he's got the writing, he has got the drawing itself put into its own code. So with that said, Brunelleschi says, I'm not going to tell you. The town council says, well, if you're not going to tell us, we're not going to pay you. The Medici are thinking, well, we're going to be out a bunch of money. This is a standoff. But Brunelleschi says, I'm not telling him. And he leaves. After some discussion with the Medici, Brunelleschi says, I think I've got an idea. I think I've got a way that I can tell them how to build it, but not actually tell them. I can show them, but not like physically tell them exactly how I'm going to do it. So Brunelleschi thinks he's figured it out. Tomorrow, Wednesday, I will tell you how Brunelleschi believes he can show them, thus tell them, without actually revealing his plans for the dome. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that story as much as I enjoyed telling it. You will get part 3 of the Medici tomorrow. Bye for now.